Well, hello there, and welcome to another Chit Chats with Git Cats. I have a little something different for you guys today. I've been using Pro Tools since 4.3, I think we worked out, back in 99 when I worked in radio at CFM and Gold FM on the Gold Coast here. And I've kind of updated it as we go on, and there's been some really cool features that have come along the way. And I'm going to admit, I'm not on top of all the new stuff that's come out. I've actually even missed a couple of software revisions along the way, but it's time to get up to date. And my friend Drew happens to be what are you, Drew?
My title is I'm the audio solutions specialist for Avid in Australia and New Zealand.
That's pretty impressive considering I can remember the days you used to follow me around with pen and paper and assist me at some sessions that we did here.
When I was a Grom, I did.
Yeah.
I was just I was keen. I just wanted to learn from anyone, and you were recording some bands, and I wanted to be that fly on the wall. And,
I think I may have even used some of your uni time, your studio time at uni to record some cool stuff.
There may have been a time that happened. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Drew has graciously set up his screen really well for us so that we can follow along. And I'm going to ask him some things. Drew, I'm going to throw over to you to full screen. And I believe we're going to start off with some of the newer things. Folder tracks was the first thing that we had on our list. And folks, before we get too far, I'm going to say we actually did work out that there is a lot in the menus and stuff, and we may actually have to do this over a few episodes because we could be here for hours otherwise. We're going to try and cap this at 2 hours. We might not even get through the whole list we got here. If that's the case, we'll take note of where we are. Please ask us questions in the comments as well. And as always, we always appreciate a little like, subscribe, and a notification bell. So over to you, Drew.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll just flick over to my Pro Tools window. Hopefully you can see that. So I've got just a small Pro Tools session here with just some drums and some bass. But yeah, we at the start of this year, we brought out a new version of Pro Tools 2020. And one of the features was folder tracks. So there's two kinds of folder tracks, and I can kind of go into how you use folder tracks for, say, organization or for routing audio.
Please do.
Okay. So you can see I've got all of my drums here, and Rick, you would probably get all of your drums and then maybe send them to a drum bus. And then
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so let's look at doing something like that. So I can select all of my drums. I'm just holding the shift key. Let's bring my keyboard up so you can see what I'm doing on my keyboard as well. That might be helpful.
Cool, mate.
Yeah, so I've just selected all of them, and let's send them to a new. We would traditionally send them to a new track, and that would be an aux track. But what we can do now is we're going to go up to track and go new. And instead of an aux track, we now have the option for a routing folder or a basic folder. So let me just show you what a basic folder is. And this is great for organization. So if I just go to basic folder, I've got now this new folder here. I'm just going to drag it to the top. And let's just call that drums.
Cool.
All right. Now I can get all of the drums in my Pro Tools session and drag them into there. And I can collapse that, and now all of my drums are inside of that one track there. And you can see how that's just tidied up my Pro Tools session already.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there is a really cool shortcut, Shift F, and I can open and close that folder track really quickly.
F for folder. So easy.
Yeah, Shift F. It's a fast way to remember that. So that's what we call a basic folder track. So with a basic folder track, I can obviously solo the drums. Hopefully you can hear some drums coming up. And you can also just solo and mute that. That's all you can kind of do with a basic folder track. So I'm just going to now change that to what we call a routing folder track, which is a little bit different. So I'm just going to delete that, keep all the existing tracks. What's going on here? Delete.
It's the danger of live, mate.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a beautiful thing. People love the danger, though.
Yeah, oh, living on the edge. So we've got my drums there, and I'm now going to go to track, new, and let's go a new routing folder. Here's a really cool feature that's been added to Pro Tools. You can actually label it here. Okay, so now I've got, it kind of looks a little bit different. You can see now I've got inserts and sends on that routing folder. So if I select all of those guys and drag that into that, I've now got, did I drag it in or I dragged it above? Whoops. Let me just try that again. Select all of those guys and drag them into the routing folder. And obviously, same as the basic folder track, I can open and close that.
Cool.
But that's now called drums. So what I'm going to do is open all of that and send all of the outputs. Here's a really great shortcut to remember. Option Shift, which is all selected tracks, we are going to send to the drum bus. So they're all going to be sent to this routing folder.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So that is kind of like an aux track, right?
Yep.
But I can then collapse and open it like a folder track. And I can add a plugin there if I wanted to, or send it somewhere else. So that's what a routing folder track is. So if you're using aux tracks at the moment for, like, say, your drum bus or parallel compression or whatever, maybe start using routing folder tracks instead of the aux tracks, and then you get that organization level as well. And what's great about this too is because obviously you can see everything here. I could, in theory, select part of that, Control C, Control V, and paste all of the members of those drums in that one track there, and I can see everything that I'm doing.
Nice.
So
that kind of saves,
a folder track.
That saves me having to make a group and then edit everything as a group, right? You can just do it on the folder track. Is that what you're saying there?
Yeah, absolutely. Because
awesome.
they're all in there. I can do all the editing to all of the members of those tracks there in that one folder track.
Very cool. Very cool.
It was actually a big request from Pro Tools users, so it's I'm so stoked that we've got it in there, and I've changed all of my mixing templates to have folder tracks now, which is great.
Nice. I'm going to have to dive into that one, mate. That seems a very nice little workflow. Mate, as we were just diving around Pro Tools earlier, you were using something called Type Ahead Search.
Yes, it's one of my favorite features in Pro Tools.
Show me all that, mate.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a lot of plugins. Like, if you have a look at my plugin list, something like UAD. Like, there's a lot of UAD plugins out there. There's a lot of, so it's very hard for me to kind of like find a plugin that I'm looking for. So opposed to kind of scrolling through all of that, if I want to put on my kick drum, say, Avid Pro Compressor, I can just click there and type the word Pro Compressor and hit enter, and it adds the plugin for me.
Cool.
So that's a very fast way of doing that. Now, if you're, say, wanting to do the same thing with inputs and outputs, you can do that as well. So all of these at the moment are being sent to my drum bus, but I can click there and just type main 1 and 2, enter, and now that's been routed to my main 1 and 2. So I know, like, you have a mixing template, Rick, most likely?
Sometimes and sometimes no. It depends on the project.
But having to quickly like scroll through menus of where's that bus that I'm dealing with.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Sometimes when I create a new subgroup or a new auxiliary, depending on the session I've loaded, it could get lost in, menu A, menu B. But so Type Ahead Search will find it just like that. Boom.
Yeah. So
what a time saver.
At the moment, yeah. So that kick drum's going to main 1 and 2 at the moment. So if I just go in there and I want it to go to the drum bus, just type drum bus. There we go. Done. How fast was that?
Awesome, dude. Awesome. I'm learning. I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah. I'm happy to show you as much as I know.
Mate, you also mentioned the way I was creating a new playlist that I didn't have to go into the menu every time and hit create new playlist, etc. What was the way you were doing that, man?
Oh, yeah. So this is, something that people do day in, day out, right? Where, you would record a vocal take or a guitar solo or whatever you're doing, and you were going to take 1, take 2, take 3, and then you might comp that together to make the perfect take. So I've got an audio track here. I'm just going to, let's just, because I'm, one of those people that likes labeling all of my tracks. Let's just call that vocal. And I'm just going to put some tone here just to kind of represent that was a vocal take. And now I'm going to use the shortcuts Control and Backspace. And now I can create a new playlist, and I'll call that Take 2. And then let's hypothetically record a new vocal take. Do that again, and we'll call that Take 3. And you can see how this is a lot faster than like clicking over here and going new.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that Control and Backslash, you can quickly get there and then recorded that new take, that new guitar solo or vocal solo, whatever you're doing. And let's do just a couple more because, only Van Halen nailed it in 3, right? I think that wasn't that I heard a saying, I think it was like a Van Halen thing. It's like, if you can't do it in 3 takes, you can't do it. But I don't know if that applies to everyone except for Van Halen, right?
Well, he's Eddie Van Halen, so.
Yep. All right, so last take 5. And we'll do that last recording in there. There we go. All right, so I have, and if we go into my playlist view here, you can see I have 5 takes of vocals hypothetically, and we can go through and preview each one of those and play that back. It's just tone, so that's why it sounds a bit weird.
Okay.
And that's how we would potentially go through and check each one of those takes. So that was the slow way of doing it. We have a new way of doing it. Well, it's not new. It's been in Pro Tools for a couple of years now. But if I hold down the Shift key and up and down, you can see I'm actually scrolling through vocal take 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's a really, really fast way of going through and checking which was the perfect take.
Cool.
What I can even do, which is kind of cooler, say this was a vocal take and there was a word I'm trying to get the perfect, the or or there's a certain front end of the note that I'm trying to nail. I'm just going to make a selection where that may have been, and I'm going to hold Command Shift, and then I'm going to go up and down. And you can see it's just scrolling through the playlist takes for
just
that
of the highlighted. That's awesome. That is awesome.
So you can kind of just like scroll through and go and make the perfect take without having to go through all of those different tabs over here.
Yeah.
Or some people use this view here and they kind of make a selection and
that's
they'll
what I was doing. Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. And look, these are all right ways. Like I'm never ever going to say that there's the wrong way of doing it. I'm just going to say here's a really fast way. That this is the way I do it, and it really, really helps me. So I can kind of make a selection there, Command Shift up and down, and I can make the perfect vocal take right there. You can see all the different clips. They would have hypothetically been, clips from other takes.
Very cool.
That's playlists and how to really maximize, playlists by doing that.
Wow, man. Wow. I'm going to have to go back and watch this video once we're done because I am trying to keep an eye on things as it's streaming and stuff. And man, you're just throwing so many cool things at me. This is awesome.
Yeah. If I am going too fast, please let me know because I can fly through these things because it's just all second nature to me. And the point of doing this live stream was to make this stuff second nature to everyone else. So if I'm flying through, just let me know and I'll pull it back.
Will do, man. But so far, I'm loving it. Loving it. The next thing that, as we were going through, was you mentioned keyboard focus mode, and this is something that I wasn't using. I was using the old school commands. So, show me a bit about that again, mate. That was really good.
This is something that I try and get everyone to do. Like, if you want to be a Pro Tools shortcut ninja, like, please make sure that you have focus mode turned on. So at the right-hand side of my edit window here, you can see this little AZ button. I can just show you over there.
Yep.
That's what it is. So at the moment, it's lit up, so I have focus mode turned on. Sometimes it's turned off like that, and you're not going to maximize those shortcuts. So we're going to turn that on. And now all of these key commands that you can see on my keyboard are actually going to be turned on. So I've got some drums here. I'm going to, some people like to use gates for their toms. Some people like to, go through and try and, edit all of their drums. And like I've seen people go through like this and select it and hit delete and do that. And that's fine. But, once you've got focus enabled, you can do things like I'm going to select right before this tom here. And I've got the letter A, which is trim all of the clip before the selection. So I'm going to hit the A key, and you can see it's just trimmed everything to the left-hand side of where I selected.
That is wicked.
And then I've got R and T. So I know we were talking about this earlier before the show. You use Command and the brackets in and out
to zoom in and out. Yeah.
To zoom in and out. Yeah, which is fine. That's one of the stock standard zoom commands. But I always have my right hand on my trackball, so to kind of then go and do that command and then go back to my trackball slows me down. When you've got focus mode enabled, you've got the R and T button here, which will allow you to zoom in and out.
That is so cool.
So I can keep my hand on the trackball or jog wheel or whatever you got in your mouse, and I can zoom right in here using that. And that's very, very close to the A key for the trimming there. So I can zoom right in with the T, hit A there, and that's trimmed everything. And then I've got D, which is for a fade in. So I can click there, fade in, R for zoom out. I'm going to make a separation here, which is B. Zoom in again, and I'm going to do a fade out, which is G, and then zoom out again, and then where's the next tom hit? Oh, it's all the way over here. I'm going to hit A. And now you can see that I've just like cleaned up that tom hit there.
Wow.
With a couple of shortcuts that are all using my left hand. I am not using any keyboard modifiers. It's just the A, zoom in and out, which is R and T. S, which is trim everything to the right hand side of the cursor. So and then I can use G to do that fade out.
Everything on the right hand side of the cursor up to the next region, or for the rest of the track?
Just the region. So say for example, I make a separation here, and then I zoom into round about there.
Yeah.
That's it. So you can see where the snare hits there. So I want to cut this off right where that snare hit is, and I'm going to hit S. And let's just zoom out so we can see from where I made that separation. There's the separation there, and I hit S. There's where the cursor is. It cuts everything from the end of the end of that clip all the way to the cursor.
Wow! So you've saved me a couple of hits there, because generally I would go Command E to put a slice there and edit, and then
Command E.
And then use my my hand tool to select. I use the multi-tool, but I have it as the hand to select, and then hit delete. So that's just a couple of hits that you're knocking out of the equation. And collectively, those little things all add up, don't they?
Well, yeah, when you're doing this day in, day out, and you're, time's money, for the client, you want to be able to do as much as possible. To be able to quickly just edit some toms like that, you can get on to start doing the creative stuff opposed to all of this kind of like, I've just got to like tidy this all up so I don't get all that spill. So, yeah, well, these shortcuts will save so much time if you know them.
Wow. So that's keyboard focus mode by enabling the A and the Z in that top right-hand corner.
Right there. Make sure it's always on. And then all of these keys down here is like, so if I actually turn that off, and I make a selection here, and I hit A, see, nothing happens.
Yep.
And I get this a lot. People call me and they're like, oh, my focus key shortcuts aren't working. And I'm like, oh, just go up here and turn that on. And then you can see that that's going to work now.
Wow. What have I been working on? I've been using like the old key commands or something. Is it classic or something like that? Is that what it's called? Or
I don't know if they would. Yeah, it's been around for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't know when we first started adding the keyboard command, the focus things.
Yep.
I'd have to look at our lovely document that we were looking at earlier today that had all of those fantastic updates that have happened in Pro Tools over the years.
Yeah, and there's been a lot. It
has.
Yeah.
Should we bring it up just to show people?
Yeah, man, you can show people if.
Okay, here it is here. So PT history. So This is a doc that one of my colleagues in the US put together, and it's every single feature that has come out in Pro Tools from Pro Tools 3.4 all the way to today. And there's a lot of things that have happened in Pro Tools, like, all of the, from, let's go all the way back to version, what'd you say, 4.3?
4.3, where Pro Tools 24 mix, that's what we had at
the old
at the station.
24 mix. That was where it was at. Yeah. And then 5.1 always resonates with me because that's when 5.1 channels actually was added to Pro Tools.
Nice.
Yeah.
Folks, anybody watching this, if you've got any particular thing that you want Drew to touch on, drop it in the comments and in the chat window, and I'll try and keep an eye on it, and hopefully we can touch on it. But like I said, it's 2 a.m. here in Australia, 2:22 actually, in the morning, and we've been going over things for quite a while now, trying to stay awake, knowing that we're going to have a lot of people in the US and Europe watching in. So feel free to ask us anything. Although there is a couple of Aussies there. Hey Dan. I think Scotty Watman's watching as well. Mate,
yeah, Dan Sugars from Brisbane. What's up, bro?
Yeah. Dan helped me put together a PC many years ago when I went to the dark side for a couple of years, mate. But yeah, I'm going to jump onto Alt or Option key. I'm always confused when I want to. I'm going to just show us your face, mate. I'm going to go to a split screen.
Hello.
Hey, two good looking guys there, eh?
I know, we're all right.
I'm always sort of fumbling around and I get a little confused if I've got a whole bunch of drum tracks, for instance, and this is the thing you showed us of the folder track kind of gets rid of this, but there might be situations where I've got a whole bunch of tracks and I've selected them and I want to assign them all to the same thing, or just apply any process to all those tracks that are selected. I'm forever holding down a different modifier key, trying to remember,
work out which one it is?
Was it that one? And the other thing that I find myself wanting to do is if I have 8 tracks selected and I want to route those to 8 different places, 8 auxiliaries, 8 outputs, but have them all come out sequentially.
Yes.
I always get confused as to what the actual key commands is, and I kind of try this and that and hold my tongue upside down until it actually works. But you've got a way for me to remember this, haven't you?
I do, yeah. I'm going to quickly just default a few things in my Pro Tools session, and then I can show you how to do that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So if I flick back to my Pro Tools screen.
Yep.
Okay, so all of my drums at the moment are assigned to no output. So let's first of all make my drums and assign that to bus 1 and 2, but I'm going to rename that and call that drums. So we want all of them to go to the drum track. So the way you need to think about this, and you probably can't see my keyboard, so we'll bring that up, is Alt or Option, depending on your Mac or PC. So it's the same. So Alt on PC and Option on Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Think of that as do to all.
Yep.
So when I'm holding that down, if I then go to, say, my drums, I'm going to do that to everything. You can see now all of my outputs have now been assigned to drums.
Wow, what a time saver. And it's Alt is like all Alt.
Think of it like that. Yeah.
Easy to remember.
Absolutely. But I don't want to do it to all tracks. I want to do it to just the drums here. You can see I've got another track down here. I don't want to do it to all of them. So I'm just going to select the kick drum, hold down the shift key, and hit the hi-hat. So now I've selected all of my drums. So similar command, Alt-Shift. Now Alt-Shift, think of that as all selected tracks. So whatever thing I'm about to do next is going to happen to all of the selected tracks. So let's now go to the output of these tracks and go to drums. Straight away, all of my drums have now been bussed to the input of that drum bus.
Wow, cool.
So that's Alt and Shift, or Option Shift, that's going to do that for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, the next thing you were talking about was you want, say for example, you've got a 8-channel interface and you want your kick, snare, all of that to go sequentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of thing, right? Quickly do all your inputs.
Yep.
You can totally do that. So the keyboard command for that, you can go in here and go to your so I'll just make them all go back to, say, no input. So they're all no.
Yep.
And I'm going to go Command, Option, Shift. Looks a bit weird, but there it is there. And then select the input, and I'm going to go, say, bus 3.
Yeah.
And now you can see that
4,
the kick
5,
drum is
6,
3.
7. Yep.
4, 5. How fast was that?
That is such a time saver. I've stumbled on that before, and I've never been able to recreate it. Well, I do now and then. As I said, I'll take a stab in the dark sometimes, but in the heat of the moment when I'm in a session and I don't want to mess shit up, I'm not game to actually try what that is. And there is a lot of stuff you're throwing at us here, man, and I'm going to have to go back and actually write some of these down because I'm trying to keep an eye on multiple things right now. Scotty Watman, you said you didn't catch where that the keyboard focus mode. Yeah, that was up in the top right. Just show him, Drew.
Right here. So in the top right-hand corner, that little AZ button, just make sure that's turned on to enable all of those keys.
Blink it and you'll miss. But that's caught me out before because I'm using the old school commands. And as you said, sometimes if that's turned off, my usual commands won't work. But I'm going to be getting the new ones under my belt. Well, they're not so new. They've been around for a long time. It's just that I haven't been hip to them. And my former assistant is now teaching me. This is great. This is awesome.
The Padawan is now the Jedi? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Young Skywalker. Is there any more tricks in that one, mate, or should I move on?
Let's move on.
Okay.
What else? What other questions do you have for me?
Mate, track presets is a new thing. And
I love track presets.
Yeah.
I love them.
I haven't ventured down that road yet, so rather than me trying to work it out, and it's probably self-explanatory, but the way you do things seems to be, well, you know exactly how it works. So to save me fumbling around learning it, show me how to do
Let's create a track preset.
Yeah,
is that what you want to do?
Let's do it.
So there's a couple of ways I show people how to do track presets. One is like really, really standard is here we've got this vocal track and I'm going to say create, there's maybe certain, plugins that you always use on vocals. Maybe it's you're doing voiceovers or it's, your vocal. So you know what plugins work for your vocal tone. So let's say go with, for me, my go-to plugin is FabFilter. So I'm going to put on that and maybe let's just do, this is just, a kind of make up some kind of EQ curve. So let's just do a high pass filter on there. And I may want like some other compression on there. So let's go with, I'll go with the Pro compressor again, because I think that's a really cool kind of compressor because it's got a wet dry built into it.
Love it. So that's being able to have a parallel chain on your compression without having to set up a whole new chain.
100%. Like it's 2020. Like every plugin should have this.
I think so too. Yeah.
It's so cool. So yeah, I'll put Pro compressor on there.
I'm just going to jump in there in case people are wondering why you would use a parallel compressor. For me, I find that it turns up the quiet parts without affecting the dynamics of the transient. I'm not topping off the transient. I'm just turning up the lower levels. That's what parallel compression is really good for. And having that blend knob on there does that. So sorry to cut in there, Drew. You were saying? I hope I haven't thrown you off track.
That's a great thing. Like I think these videos are great for helping people make better mixes, and parallel compression really, really will help make your mixer sound better if you start kind of blending things in. So
parallel everything. We were talking about
parallel.
We parallel everything.
About that. Yeah, Francois Tita, who did a lot of Gautier stuff, he was like, I parallel everything, and I'm like, kudos. Okay, so I've got a couple of plugins on there. Let's even let's up the ante on this. Let's go and add a send. So I'm going to go, instead of going make a bus here and then create an aux track or whatever, we spoke that you do this, and I'm happy that you do this. You just go new track.
Yep.
And we're going to do a stereo aux, and let's call that Vox Verb. Enter. And then let's add a reverb there. My favorite reverb is Revibe. Chuck that on there. And look, this is the great thing when you go new track opposed to going bus and creating new aux. It's labeled that Vox Verb and it's labeled the send. So we've got all that organization going on by doing it that way. So let's now turn that up. So I've got a vocal audio track and I've got a reverb that is an aux track. I'm going to select both of those and I can now go save track preset just by right clicking that. I can go save track preset.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can put it in a folder. Let's put it in the Drew folder. And we'll call that, let's just call that Rick's vocal. Rick's
I'll give it up on singing.
Well, you know, auto-tune might be able to help you, mate.
Melodyne for me, mate. Melodyne.
Melodyne, yeah.
I haven't owned auto-tune for a very long time. I did, and yeah, it's just not the sound for me.
Yeah, fair
but
enough.
I know it's for some people, but just not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to call the track preset Rick's vocal. And I'll get into this in a second, I'm going to show you what we can do when we add audio and MIDI clips, because this actually helps me from a creative standpoint when I'm trying to, start a song.
Yep.
So I can include audio or MIDI clips in the track preset. And at the moment I'm not going to. And then I've got these meta tags to help search for said track preset.
Cool. Cause I was going to say you've got tags there. So
yeah,
that's very cool.
So when we go searching for track presets, we could just search FabFilter or search Reverb, and it'll bring up track presets that have that
in there.
Yep. Okay.
That is very cool, man. Very cool.
So let's go. Now we've created that track preset. So I'm just going to delete these two tracks here because we don't need them, right?
Yeah.
Because we've got track presets now.
Nice.
Delete. Sure. All right.
You guys all getting this? This is amazing. I'm learning a lot from Drew. This is great.
All right. Yeah. If I'm going too quickly, people tell me to slow down. But this is going to be up on the internet like later tonight, or tomorrow morning, or wherever you are, so you can watch it again, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go back with pen and paper and write all this stuff down because I'm actually settled in now. At the start, I had to make sure everything was so a few of those early things went past me, but I'm watching intently on the full screen now.
Yep. So we've created the track preset. So again, there's like 3 ways to do everything. So let me just show you one way. So I can go create new, and before we would create a new audio track, but now we can actually create a track preset, and I've got Rick Vocal create.
Cool.
How fast was that? So that's like a certain kind of like sound that you have, like your kind of signature source plugins. You can save them all as a track preset.
Oh, dude, like if you're recording somebody and you're starting a new song and you got it right the first time, well, trying to just pull up that channel again. I was going in and importing that channel and all that type of crap, but that's totally...
right. Import session data.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
The thing that we used to do. Yeah. So now you could just save it as a track preset and then just do it that way.
Cool. You getting this, guys out there? Is Drew going too fast, or are you guys happy to go back and with pen and paper and write all these down as he goes? Silence. That's right. They can't talk to us. There's probably people in the comments. Yeah.
What's also very cool, so you can see I've actually deleted the plugins off that vocal channel there. So if I actually if I click here, and opposed to actually adding the plugins that I would use, I've actually got recall inserts. And what recall inserts is I can actually recall just the inserts from that track preset. Okay, go.
Just the inserts from the preset. So you mean
just the plugins?
Just the plugins without the data of where the volume was set on the fader and all that kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So if someone sent you a mix and you're like, oh, I've got a signature bass kind of like plugins that are my go-to plugins for bass.
Yep.
You could save them as track preset and then just bring them just those inserts in. And that's like a starting point.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, so that's a very cool way. Another way I want to show using track presets, which might take me a little bit. So I'm just going to add an instrument track here. And I'm going to add a plugin from our friends, Propeller Heads or Reason. You've used Reason before, Rick, right?
Yeah, not for a while, but you said there's been a bit of a development in Reason.
It's a plugin now.
It's a plugin now.
It's an AAX plugin that goes on an instrument track, and now I can bring in old redrum.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to do like a bit of a lazy 4 on the floor here, and I'll get the hi-hat there, and I'll just do something on the offbeat. So this is just I'm just kind of just getting a MIDI track going.
Yeah, just something basic.
What's cool about this is I can actually like click this little note here and drag that onto the instrument track.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So I do that in Easy Drummer where I'm piecing together things and just drag and drop it.
100%.
Cool. So you can do it with that. Awesome, man.
You can do it with the Reason plugin, which is cool. So let's just bring that to, let's just get that. Let me go to that clip. It's hidden behind here. There you go, champ. And let's just copy that and go to the start of the session and paste that. And so I've got, a couple of bars of that 4 on the floor. Command D, I'll just duplicate that a couple of times. And let's just call that, drums. Or just E drums. That's how we're going to call it.
Yep.
E drums. Enter. And let's just save that as a track preset. So we can go in here and go save track preset. And what I want to do now is go include audio and MIDI clips.
Into the preset. Cool.
Into the preset. So this is what I do from like a creative standpoint. So if I'm starting a new session, I've got at least a basic 4 on the floor that I can just quickly drag into the session, plug in my bass guitar, and away I go, right?
So I'm just thinking of applications for this. And this would be great to make yourself a custom click track that you could record at any time. That's the first thing that popped in my head. It's like, because some people are very particular about what they want to hear, and some sounds get lost more than other. Yeah, cool, man. Thank you.
Exactly. So let's just get out of that. I'm just going to open up Workspace, which is another way of we're going to get into Workspace a little bit later because we spoke about this, but it's another way of getting to track presets. And if I go over to track presets, and I think it was the Drew folder where I saved that. Yeah, there is my track preset that I created.
Yep.
I can just...
And there's all the parameters associated with it to the side there?
That's all the metadata that is saved with a track preset.
Yeah.
And you can go, you know what, I don't want the clips and media associated with it if you don't want it. But in this instance, we do.
Yep.
We want to just drag it in and drag that in. And you can see that it's included the media that was part of that track preset. So if you had, like 4 bars of drums or 8 bars of drums or whatever, you could save that as a track preset. And then you're like, I want to start a new song. Okay, well, just drag in some drums, plug in your guitar or whatever, and you've got something ready to go.
Nice one. Nice one.
It's a fast way to start writing music, and that's what I love about track presets.
Them's the tricks, huh, folks? Man, if you're liking what Drew's doing, be sure to give this a like. And, man, I'd really appreciate your subscribes out there. I'm still quite a new channel, and every little sub helps. Dude, keep on going. Keep on going.
Keep on going. We were talking about clip gain, weren't we?
Yep, clip gain. You're done with track presets?
I'm done with track presets.
Yep,
I think that's enough for people to kind of digest with track presets, and I'm sure that everyone's going to have their own track presets moving forward, and that makes me very happy.
So I'm just going to say, when it comes to clip gain, the way I was using it was very cumbersome and bulky.
Yep.
I was right-clicking on the region. Going down to clip gain, going across, adjust, etc. But dragging the selection, so highlighting the selection, and then dragging. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was doing.
Doing all that.
You were saying there's a much quicker way to do this, yeah?
100%. So I'm just going to clear that. Let's get rid of all of that. So let's just clear all the clip gain. Okay, so there's the clip gain line, which, yes, is very helpful to show that clip gain line. let's just hide the line. So again, with Pro Tools, there's like 3 ways to do everything. So, I'll you've obviously got this little fader in the left-hand side of the clip itself, and you can obviously turn things up and down like that. But that's obviously doing the entire clip.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Where did you find that, mate? Sorry, that's behind my camera. You got that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
so
fine.
if
Oh, yeah, okay. I
I
see the little fader. Yeah, just down there.
Yeah, at the start of the clip. If it's not there,
Yeah.
because sometimes it might not be there, if you just go up to the view, clip gain info, I believe will bring that back.
Oh, nice one. Nice one. Thanks, mate.
Yeah. So view, and sometimes it's not. Like sometimes people like have preferences that are corrupt and they trash their preferences, and then these things, all these kind of menu options, which I think is a whole new video altogether, all these menu things.
That's right.
Yeah.
We did say we're going to go through the whole menu bar in another episode because there is so much to cover.
Oh yeah.
But that's
yeah.
a whole other episode. We'll go through the menu bar.
Yep. So that's where that little volume is there. So I can actually do the entire clip using that volume bar. But if I say, for example, this note here, this snare is too loud, I can go in and just select that. Mm-hmm. Now, the shortcut, Control and Shift, have them held down.
Yeah. And
your up and down arrows here. So I'm just going to go up and down. Oh. And now you can see I'm turning that snare down to be like an appropriate level. So
wow,
like
cool.
I do a lot of work with like dialogue stuff for like YouTube videos, and I do ADR and stuff. So I'm always trying to get vocal levels leveled out before you smack it with a compressor, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I will go through and I'll like to be selecting things, and I'll be going up and down, and I'll select that little thing, and I can make that go a little bit louder, or that might be hypothetically a breath that you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
Control Shift and just get rid of it. There's that breath has just been dragged out. And then you chuck your compressor on and all of that.
Yeah.
It really, really smooths things out before you start adding plugins, because all of this is pre-fader.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's clip gain, and that's a fast way of using clip gain, and I'm a massive fan of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can bring up the clip gain line. So you obviously right-clicking and going to clip gain line.
That was it, yeah. So I that was just bulky, and I thought, but even that was better than the old way of actually selecting something, going to Audio Suite and processing
Audio Suite,
yeah,
and then
that
go
was
to gain.
Yeah, that was hit and miss. So when they did bring in clip gain, I was doing it that way that you just showed then. I thought, woohoo! But you've just made it woohoo!
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice one, mate. Now, you did mention that's better. Your keyboard's better there. I don't know what happened before. I was going to say your overhead had moved or something, but you fixed that. You mentioned workspace and that you use that a lot. And I'm thinking, I never look at that. Why would I look at that? Why would I look at that? And what can I do in there, mate?
Oh, you can do a lot of cool stuff in there.
Show me.
Okay. So, yeah, workspace. If I open that up. This is it's I guess it's hard to explain, but I can see all of my track presets. I can see all of my audio files that are in my Pro Tools session. Sound libraries, if I've got loop libraries or anything like that, I've got them there. All of my hard drives are in volume, so if I want to get to my sample libraries or anything like that, I can quickly access all of that here, opposed to going to file and import. I want to import some kind of shaker or whatever.
Cool.
I can do that. I can do all of that within Workspace, but I'm going to show you how it makes it even better.
So it's kind of like Finder on the Mac, but built into Pro Tools specifically for everything related to Pro Tools. Is that a way of looking at it?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to my sound libraries. So these are all like loops that I've got on my hard drive. I've got, again, that metadata, so I can kind of search for things that are R&B and their drums. Right. So now it's now showing me all of the drum loops that are on my hard drive. I can preview them. So what I want people to do is have right-click here and have loop preview turned on. So when I actually click here and spacebar, yeah, I'm now previewing that clip, and I can actually go and hit the down arrow and start previewing all of those
Cool. Now,
loops that I've got.
is that stretching it to fit the tempo of the song? That's a big ask.
No, not yet, but yes, I know what you want me to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So
how do you make it do that?
Well, okay, so you can
I'm
see
glad
that
you
this,
asked.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. This drum loop here is at, you can see it's 140. So I'm assuming that's at 140 BPM.
Yeah. And your session is hidden behind there, so I can't. Oh, yeah, no, it is 120. Yep.
120.
Yep.
So I want to hear that at 120, right? I don't want to hear that at 140. So you see this little button up here?
Yeah.
Do that little thing there. If I click that, that uses the elastic time algorithm to now compress or expand these loops to match whatever my Pro Tools session is.
Wow.
So
cool.
So let's play this without. So we'll play it, and then I'll enable it. You can see it's now made it slower, right?
Awesome. Because you really got to hear it in the context of the tempo of the song that you're working on, really.
100%. So now that I've got that, I can then select that clip and just drag it into my session, and it applies that elastic time to that clip, so that's going to match the grid in your Pro Tools session. Another way to do it, which I'm a big fan of, is if you have this little view open here and you've got your tracks view, and if I just drag it into the track window like that, it creates a new track with the clip there, and it's labeled it whatever the clip is.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay.
And you can see it's all locked to the grid. And the elastic time's been enabled there. We've got elastic. If I make that track a little bit bigger, you can see that I've got the polyphonic elastic time enabled, and that's all locked to 120. So now that's all in time.
Nice one.
So if you've got like percussion or all these loops that, go to, there's so many websites where you can go download like sample libraries of loops and just chuck them all into Workspace, go up here, it's in Window, go to Workspaces, get that open and go into your sample library and just start dragging in and making all these like really, really cool kind of like songs.
Wow. Folks, if there's anything that you really want Drew to touch on, and we don't get to it tonight, we are going to do another episode because there is so much in here. So please leave it in a comment. If you hit the notification bell on my channel, you'll know when we're going live on stuff, because wow, it's great to have somebody with this much knowledge show me around everything. Is there any more tricks up the sleeve with Workspace you want to touch on, mate?
No, let's look at some other stuff. Like obviously I said all my track presets were in there, and if you want to quickly look at audio files that are in your Pro Tools session, you can find all of that in Workspace. So if you're not using it at the moment, get on board, because it's definitely a really easy way of kind of like finding files on your computer. Cool.
I'm just cutting to me, and people are going to see that I'm actually sitting in my pajamas right now. Let's talk about
hanging at home.
You are like 1,000 Ks away from me or more.
I'm in Melbourne.
You're in Melbourne. I'm on the Gold Coast. So the magic of the internet. I would like to see. There he is. There's the two of us. Yay. The I/O setup, mate. That kind of baffles me sometimes. Yeah, and sometimes I will open sessions and it's all set to the previous studio or previous interface that I had before. Yes. Give me the rundown on I/O setup, mate, because I'm going to admit I don't have it down 100%. So.
Yeah, no, I've had people ask me about this before. So if there's anyone on the channel that's confused about I/O setup, I'll kind of try and explain it the best I can to make people understand it. So if I go back to my Pro Tools window, we're going to go Setup I/O. Okay, so we've got a couple of tabs here. Some of them aren't going to matter to everyone. Probably the things that are going to matter the most are your inputs, your outputs, and your buses. Right? Cool.
So if I go to create new buses to send things around, I've got just way too much stuff there. It's just like, let's clean that up. This is the place to do it.
Yep, absolutely. So if I bring back my keyboard there, and you can just, Command A. select all of them. And if you just want to go, I'm just going to start from scratch, just delete them all.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, sometimes that's best, isn't it?
It's not going to break anything if you do that. All of your IOs in Pro Tools will be shattered, but we learned some shortcuts tonight that'll help you quickly get them all back. Right?
Cool.
So you could just hit default and get all the defaults back, and you'll be hunky dory. What I want to kind of explain to people that kind of confuse, like you said, you've gone from studio to studio, and things aren't matching. The reason that may be is that your inputs and your outputs tab really are determined by the interface that you're using. Mm-hmm. So if you're using a HD native Omni that has 8 IO, or you're using a UA Apollo that might be a couple of IO. I've got a Focusrite 2i2. It's only 2 channels, and at the moment I'm using loopback audio to send audio over, it's to the Skype there. So it's obviously 6 channels. That's input and output is determined by the interface that you're using. The buses on the other hand are actually determined by the Pro Tools session. Mm-hmm. So these things aren't necessarily connected, even though outputs 1, 2 are going to 1, 2 of my interface. They're not actually, they're 2 separate things. That's actually a bus that's being mapped to an output.
Aha. And the little picture of a monitor beside that, is that to just say that's my monitor out?
So on the outputs page, you can create a monitor path, which is 1, 2. And that's actually quite slick, because if you have your interface, which might be, your Focusrite box, or your HD native box, or your Apollo, or whatever you've got, if you map that to 1, 2 in your output settings, if you open a new Pro Tools session, it will make sure that your master 1, 2 goes to a monitor path first.
Cool.
So don't have that set on no input. Set that to be whatever your speakers are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And make sure an audition path. I was going to say when you're auditioning stuff, I guess. Yeah.
Well, Workspace is the audition path.
Yep.
So if I had that set to nothing, and I was previewing stuff in Workspace and not hearing anything.
Yep.
Well, I'd have to go back in here and set that to 1, 2.
Cool.
So that's coming out my main speaker output.
Now, would it be a wise idea just to come up with a preset? And I did this years before. So if I do receive a session from another studio, I just load a preset that's got all my IOs set for me. Is that the way to go about it?
You can do, yeah. So you can obviously, create a bus path that works for you. Like you've got all your busing in there. That's for your room specifically, and then export those settings. And then someone gives you a Pro Tools session and they've got some really crazy busing going on.
Yep.
You can obviously select all of that, delete it, and then import your whatever, preset that you've created for your room.
Sure.
That is really, really helpful if you want to do that. Absolutely.
Cool. So I see across the tabs there, you've got insert. What's under there, mate? Yep.
Okay, so inserts is like hardware inserts for people that are still using like analog compressors or EQs or things like that.
Oh, cool.
You can assign physical I/O from your interface to be, a hardware 1176 or things like that. And so, opposed to using a plugin, so we've got insert 1, 2 is actually going to 1, 2.
Yep.
So I'm going to this aux track here, and instead of going a plugin, I can actually go to a hardware insert. So I go IO, insert 1, 2, and that would be my 1176. Or if you're using, some kind of like Bricasti reverb, maybe that might be what you're using, and you'll use that as a hardware insert opposed to a plugin.
Cool. So if you're doing that, you just must remember to do a real-time bounce.
Yeah, faster than real-time bounce won't work in that instance. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Mate, I think I got my head around that now.
Cool.
Now, some of the new features, I think I jumped straight from 10 to 12, and along the way there, freeze, commit, and bounce got added to the to the tracks when you right click on the names. And I think I got my head around what they do, but I just want you to confirm for me that what I'm thinking is the way it really is.
Absolutely. All right. So if we, let's have a look at this snare track here. So I'm just going to throw a couple of plugins on there. Let's just, lovely fab filter, and then we'll chuck on some kind of compression that I've got there. Let's just go another fab filter, the multi-band. That's pretty slick. All right. So I'm just trying to think of some examples where this would be helpful.
Yep.
So
that's the sucky overhead shot, by the way, mate. I'm not sure if you've got control of that.
Back to the thing again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it came good. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Yep.
There we go. Yep. My apologies. Okay, so the if you're using, say, some kind of interface that's using external DSP, and you run out of plugin processing, or you're using too much, you've got a computer that's a little bit out of date, and you're running out of CPU processing, we had to bounce things down and render them out. Like, that was always a bit of a challenge, right? When we ran out of plugin processing.
Yep.
Well, freeze tracks is actually a really helpful way of alleviating that. So if I click this little, you can see it's like a little snowflake. Right? Yeah. If I click that, that's now, think of it like a real-time render of all of the processing that's happening on that one track. Mm-hmm. And you can see it's kind of grayed out a little bit. And all of the plugins have now been made inactive. So I can't actually get in there and do anything to them, because it's the system itself has kind of like gone, okay, well, based on all of the EQ and compression that you've done, I'm going to kind of like store that information as a render. And the only way to make any changes is to unfreeze that track.
Cool. So how is that different to commit and bounce?
Okay, so if I right-click this and go commit, I get this notification saying, you're going to commit this track. What do you want to do to it? Well, I want to, obviously the selected track. And what am I going to do with that source track? I can do nothing. I can delete it. I can hide and make inactive. So let's just say do nothing for now.
Yeah.
But let's just do something kind of extreme to it. Let's, first off, just so we can see the difference, let's go in here and shave off some bottom end and just shave off. I would never do this to a snare, Rick. Please don't judge me. I'm just doing it for the example. I'm going to now commit that and do nothing to the source track, that is.
Yep.
And hit OK. And you can see now it's going to create a brand new track.
Yep.
So that's a new file, a new track. It's, let's call it, a destructive process, because we've created something new.
Uh-huh.
I was clever enough to do nothing to the old tracks. Like, I always go back and change things.
Yep.
But I've created a new clip. I've created more media. Like with freeze tracks, I can always undo it, make a change, freeze it again. Where with this, it's a new file, which might work for you. That's maybe what you want to do. Like, when I work with a lot of MIDI stuff, mm-hmm. I always like committing it to audio.
Yep.
And that's great for iCar. Oh, sorry. It's getting late here. iCarval. What am I trying to say?
The 3 a.m. version.
The 3 a.m. version. It is 3 a.m. here. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to like have a backup of things, then you can always have it as audio opposed to a plugin that you might not have a license for in the future.
I've always, since I've been using the commit feature, when it says what to do with the original track, like hide and make inactive, so that if I do want to go back to the other one, and
you can do that.
Yeah. So that's not taking up any more processing by being inactive, but it's just in that little tracks window.
Yeah, exactly. There's no processing being used. So if you do run out of plugin processing, you can commit it, hide and make inactive, and then that snare track now has no plugins on it, but it's got that snare tone that you were going for, right?
Sure,
so that's a really cool way of doing that.
How about bounce? How is bounce different to commit?
Well, bounce is going to bounce that clip out and create a file, like as you would do bounce a disc, but you're just bouncing that one track.
Outside of the session, exporting it.
Yeah, exactly. You can export it out. Yeah. So you've done all some processing, and then I just want to bounce out that track.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, between freeze and commit, I think one of them actually asks you whether you want to commit the plugins as well, doesn't it? Or keep them running in real time. Is that right?
Well, freeze is cool for that.
Yep.
So let me go back down to that reason plugin that I had going on, and then let's add a couple of plugins to it. I'm going to add that. I'm going to add the Pro Compressor as well. Again, these are just my go-tos. Like they sound great. So virtual instruments, we know they take up lots of RAM, lots of processing. They use lots of samples. So once you've kind of got, if you did mention you use EasyDrummer a lot, right?
Yep.
So once you've kind of got that sound inside of EasyDrummer, you can actually right-click the plugin and go freeze up to this insert, or you can commit up to this insert as well.
Cool.
So if I hit freeze up to this insert, it freezes just that plugin, but then the plugins below it are still active for me to make adjustments to, right?
That's awesome.
I've just saved all of those resources from that virtual instrument that I'm using. And they're the things that really kind of make your system kind of spit a bit, because they're taking up so much of your CPU resource.
Awesome. Love it, Drew. Love it. You guys out there learning stuff? If you walked away from this learning one thing, I think it may help improve your workflow somewhat. Batch rename was something that came across. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. This actually came from a lot of Pro Tools users in the video game world, actually. So just one of my boss Daniel, based in Japan, was actually at Nintendo, and they were actually talking about things that can make their just days a little bit faster. Mm-hmm. So let's just say we had 4 audio tracks like that. They're all labeled, audio, and I would cry if I walked in and got a mix and everything was laid.
Yeah.
Audio 111.
I know this.
Horrible,
I know
right?
This is sort of a bit more of an advanced thing, but if there's anybody out there that's sort of new to Pro Tools, I'm going to swear, for fuck's sake, name your track before you do anything. You do not want to go looking for things and have it named Audio 3, Audio 4. That is the biggest waste of time you could possibly have in a session. Name your track as soon as you make it.
Yeah, I couldn't hammer that home enough. Just label things. Label your tracks. Label your bussing.
Yep, totally.
You saw before, we can right-click here and hit rename. If that is just going to make your life so much better, and if you have to give this to someone else, it's going to make their life better.
Oh yeah. I flat out, if somebody just gave me, it was all named Audio 3, Audio 4, I'd just give it back to them and say, mate, name it all and give it back to me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
So here's a really fast way of changing all of these from vocal 3, 4, 5, 6 to say, audio 3, 5, 6. Let's make them vocal 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to right-click all of those tracks and go batch rename. And we're going to find the word audio. And now this is case sensitive as well. So you make sure you need to type it the same way that it's written in the track.
Yep.
And let's change that to vocal. And if I hit enter, look at all the tracks on the left-hand side.
Boom. Look at that.
That's batch renaming all of your tracks.
Cool. Can you open that window? That's amazing. Total time saver. Can you open that window again? There was a few other little parameters in there. I just wanted to have a quick look at.
Yeah, so you can trim the end of them as well. So if there's certain characters that you want to remove, you can do that, or you can add certain things to the prefix. So I can add 1 to that, or I can,
Awesome.
All of those things, or numbering. So for example, I can, if these were all just called vocal whatever, I can then add a number to the side of them and all of that as well. So
cool.
It's a very, very fast way of just tidying up your Pro Tools session. Yeah.
Nice. I wasn't sure when you brought that up and I saw trim, whether that was referring to the actual audio file or the name, but that's all specific to the name, huh?
The character, yeah. So look, just as an example, I can go there and go trim the beginning 1 character. And then go, okay. Vocal 3, 4, 5, 6.
Cool. You're an Ocal.
Oh, stop it.
Mate, I reckon that's batch rename done.
Yeah.
MIDI real-time properties. That was another thing that came up in when I was right-clicking on the MIDI track. Have you got a MIDI track there that we can look
I
at
do have a MIDI track right here. So
Here's one I prepared earlier.
Here's one I prepared earlier. I'm going to just take a few things off. So let's say this might have been something more melodic. At the moment, it's obviously a drum thing, but we can change that and make that. Let's go to, what's a go-to kind of plugin that I use for that? My friends at Arturia do some very, very cool plugins. So let's go to the Mini V3. Yeah, that's going to be the plugin.
I wish I had friends at Arturia.
Just
it's part of the business, isn't it? Part of the business.
It is.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Oh, it's such a great little bass plugin. Like for just if you want to do a little bass line, it's dope. Anyway, so I've got a bass line here. I'm just going to delete a couple of plugins, a couple of tracks. Sorry, a couple of notes. So just get my hand tool here and let's just delete a couple of these. So MIDI enhancements with Pro Tools, and I guess for the people that are watching this, I guess there was this kind of, I'm not going to say the words misconception, but maybe a misunderstanding that Pro Tools didn't have great MIDI. So there are some really great shortcuts that you need to remember with Pro Tools to kind of improve that. So I can actually use my left and right arrows to go through different clips, different MIDI notes. And if I use my up and down arrows here, I can actually move semitones at a time.
Nice.
That's quite cool. Now let's up the ante. Hold the shift key down and hit up.
Boom. Look at that.
Octaves.
Nice.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, as you can see, I'm in C major.
Yep.
This note's on a C. I'm going to hold Control and up and down. Sounds like a C major scale to me. What do you reckon?
It does. So if you change the session to the key of D major, as you step through, it's going to step through the notes of D major. That's awesome, mate.
While holding Control. If you hold Control, it will move up and down in the key of whatever the session is in.
Nice.
So this is what's quite slick. So if I hold Option up, it copies that note and moves it up just a semitone. But let's go Option and Control up. And I can actually, so if I go and move that, I've got to select the note first. That would help. Move that up. That's moved it to a D. I'm going to move that up to an E and then do Control Option up again. It's moved it up to, I've just created a chord.
Wicked.
That quickly. All I've done is just a couple of keyboard commands and I've quickly made it a chord there.
Nice.
It's that easy.
Mate, Scotty Watman wants to know if there's MIDI SysX editing in there.
We do have SysX information in there as well. I know if you want to, say, be controlling external controllers over SysX, that can be done, yes.
Where do we access that?
I believe that's on the MIDI track itself. If we go into SysX.
SysX, yeah, it's been there a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So SysX is there if you want to kind of go in there and do that stuff. So that would be a whole other video in itself, I think.
Yeah,
if we go into the SysX. I know Scotty's obviously been doing MIDI for a while.
Yeah, controlling external stuff.
Yeah, but like
that'd be great for
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say program changes, which is pretty standard stuff now for live acts to be running tracks and
100%.
and having all your patches change automatically and stuff. It's all in there. Anything else on MIDI real-time properties, mate? I think that covers it, doesn't it?
That's kind of all the shortcuts that I think, if you start using those shortcuts while using MIDI, you're going to be able to create, MIDI kind of lines very, very quickly by just remembering those a few little shortcuts.
Cool. In my little notes, we also said MIDI enhancements. Did we just cover those?
Well,
there?
that was those little MIDI enhancements that were implemented in 12.8. I could be wrong, but somewhere in 12 we did that.
Mate, metering. So somewhere along the line, new metering was introduced. I changed it, and then all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I don't know how loud I'm actually recording now. Am I going into the red? Am I not going in the red? Let me go back to
we'll go over
classic.
the mixer view.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you obviously right-click the meter, you now get all of these new meter views here. So if you were using Pro Tools 10 or earlier, you're probably used to the Pro Tools Classic view.
Cool. Okay. That's what I thought. Yep.
Yep. But then we obviously had, people wanted to see different other views. So if you wanted a VU, now we have VU metering there. And if you wanted, these are those, I think they're the Bobcats K2, K12, which will give you like a peak and RMS kind of view as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're for. What I actually dig about this the most is that we now actually have a gain reduction view as well, which can be, show gain reduction metering. So if I click that and have that enabled, and there's got to be some kick drum coming. Oh, let's just put that on the snare drum. And where's the snare drum? On here. Right there. Let's just loop that. If we go back to that view, you can see that how much gain reduction is happening without having to open up the plugin, right?
Yeah, I've enabled that, and that's been great.
Oh,
just to see how much I'm taking off along the way without having to open the plugin.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Right-click that, and like RMS or VU, or depending on some facilities, obviously we've got PPM BBC and things like that. There's certain requirements that people need. That's why we implemented all of these different views. Cool. So venue peak and venue RMS are the same metering type as the Avid venue consoles, live sound consoles. So if you wanted to have, if you're looking at a live sound console and you've got a laptop to the left of it and you wanted to see the metering to look the same, you would flick it to that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your jam is on this, I am going to be honest. I still use Pro Tools Classic because I'm so used to it.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, but if you want to use something else, then go nuts. The K stuff is actually quite cool because you obviously can see peak and RMS at the same time.
I was, I think I fiddled around with that because I was asking around with some other guitar YouTubers just about how hard I should be hitting YouTube and stuff. And there's an English chap, Harry and a Guitar. Check out his channel. He was very useful with giving me the rundown on just how loud to be hitting different platforms and stuff. And that's where I started fiddling around in there. And then I just went, what's the one I used to use? And I assumed it was Pro Tools Classic. So it's good to hear that's where I was. Mate, layered editing was something new that came up.
Oh, yeah. This was just a small change in Pro Tools, but for me, actually made a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around 12.3 or 12.4.
So, mate, I'm just going to pull you up right there. Like, just the way you changed between the two windows then. I'm a command equals kind of guy, but that's the old one without the key focus turned on, right?
Well, yeah,
Or do they both work?
They both work, but this here, command and I think that's till. We call that symbol the till.
Oh, we call it the squiggle.
Actually, yeah, we call it squiggle. That's actually a Mac thing.
Cool.
So that's just if you've got multiple Word documents open, you can go command and till and flick between Word documents or multiple Safari windows. You do that. So that's just a Mac thing. Again, Dude,
I used to work for Apple as a creative and I did not know that. I should have known that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're making me look stupid. That's cool though. Very cool.
And the reason is I'm trying to keep everything on my left hand because my right hand is on my mouse or my trackball, so I don't want to have to do this. So that's why I do that.
I noticed you kept one hand on your ball.
Absolutely. So we were talking about layered editing, which is this little box here.
Yeah, that's new to me. What the hell is that all about, mate?
Well, let's turn it off first.
Yep.
And I'll show you how this is annoying. So I'm just going to select some audio, and I'll paste it down here. Now, with that off, when we used to like drag things over, let me just zoom in a little bit and make that clip a little bit bigger. When you kind of got a clip and like dragged it over another clip, and then you're like, oh, that I dragged it too far, I'll drag it back. See how it's made that cut? That's kind of annoying.
It is.
So let's do it over audio. And while I do it over audio, there's a new feature as well that was around the same time as layered editing that we implemented as well, which is clip transparency. And I love this because when I'm dragging this clip over, I can see the clips underneath.
Well, we could if your keyboard wasn't in the way.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Let's
do it on another
here.
track, mate. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, up there. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. So now you can align your audio visually for the peaks to, and cool.
You can kind of line it up like that.
Yep.
But what's happening is every time
you get that separation.
And then you'd go, oh, that was too far. I need to drag this back. That was annoying. So now with layered editing, when I turn that on, if I drag over that and go, oh, I've dragged too far, I need to drag back a little bit, like it still retains the clip underneath.
Nice.
So it's these little things that used to frustrate me that we've just kind of improved. And that was actually one of those things that we added with the layered editing. And that's that little box there. So if that's ever turned off, leave it on.
Very cool. Very cool. Folks, is there anything else out there that you want Drew to touch on? Because I don't want this to go too long. I'd rather do this in shorter sessions and have you back on very soon. If you guys have got anything that maybe Drew has touched on already and you wanted to slow down or go over it again.
How long have we gone for?
About an hour and 20, mate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it flies, doesn't it? It does.
Absolutely.
And for our friends overseas, it is 3:20 a.m. So speak now or forever hold your peace. Where's the two of us?
Yeah.
Look at that. There's the two of us.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock, yeah. I've been sipping on a wine myself, and I'm a non-drinker, so I'm a cheap drunk, but I've only had two tiny small ones there, mate. So I've got my little clipboard here that I've been writing things down, and that's most of the stuff that I wanted to cover just now, because the big one that we want to do next time is the menu bar. All the across to the top, and I want to go through everything because there's
whole show.
I know. There's a lot of stuff there that I sort of have seen there for years, and I don't understand what it means. And there's probably things I'm missing out on that can improve the workflows, like you've done for us there.
This one right here,
and the other one is your preferences. Your preferences as well. I'd like to go through all that with you in another episode. So
that is easily 1 to 2 shows.
Yeah, totally, isn't it? Yeah. You just said you wanted to show us something there, mate?
I just said this is the one thing in the menu that everyone needs to remember.
Yeah, and what's that?
Save.
Dude.
Seriously, just save.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Command S. So
that's the shortcut.
If ever there's a power outage or there's a crash, people will turn to me and say, oh no, how much have we lost? Every time I make an edit, it is just natural for me to go Command S. And I always say to them, we haven't lost more than 30 seconds because it has just been natural. I worked in broadcast and there is no way you're going to let things get past you and lose your hard work. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Scotty's saying he'd love to be able to edit sysx info in Pro Tools. Are you not able to edit sysx info in there, Drew? Can you be a bit more specific with that, Scott? That was the one.
Yeah, maybe we'll reach out to Scott after the show.
Yeah, and find out exactly what it is he's trying to do.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll reach out to Scotty and we'll get that sorted for him.
Yeah. Lisa's saying thank you for our time. I'd like to thank everybody out there. Mate, let's go back to it, the split screen of us.
Thank
you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Drew, I know I'm pointing there, but actually you're on the screen over there. Man, I need to go back through this because, as I said, when we first started, I was trying to keep an eye on everything, make sure everything was going down. And I'm going to go back through all this with pen and paper because there's some invaluable stuff in there. And I'm going to brainstorm some more things. People, if you want to leave comments in the section down below that we can go through and find things that you might want to do next time, please do. All the subscribe, and
subscribe,
notification, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like a knob asking to do that, but if you don't, nobody does. Maybe they do. Maybe you just got to give them something to subscribe about. But I'm predominantly a guitar channel, but I do mix and record everything myself. Been doing it for a while.
Lots of guitarists do. There's how many guitarists do their own tracks and then send them over to their session musos, right?
It's just the done way. I think every musician needs to have a good, fast, efficient workflow.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit the little button that gives Drew a little bit of a round of applause. Yeah. And I want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching, and we shall see you guys on the flip side. Thank you. Bye.